How does a song that everybody knows turn into a career that almost nobody talks about? One big hit, one summer, and a voice that you can probably still hear in your head almost 30 years later. Today, I'm asking the question, where are they now? And I'm talking specifically about the short king, SKEE-LO. But before we get into it, thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. I go by the name Broadway the Lyricist. I'm a hip hop enthusiast and cultural storyteller. And if you're a fan of hip hop commentary, history, or anything related to the culture, you are in the right place, you are family, and you are already locked in. So now all you gotta do is hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell icon so you guys never miss an upload. With that out of the way, let's get to it.
I am Broadway the Lyricist, homie, just let me do my thing. I'm on top, on my grind, I'ma always get it.
Born Antoine Roundtree in Chicago, but raised largely in Riverside, California, SKEE-LO broke onto the national hip-hop scene in 1995 with the song that captured the summer soundtrack of a generation. But before we even get into his smash hit, I Wish, you gotta understand why SKEE-LO mattered. In the mid-90s, hip-hop was loud, it was aggressive, and it was hyper-masculine. Gangsta rap dominated the charts. East Coast versus West Coast was boiling, and then here comes SKEE-LO. Not talking about guns, not talking about beef, but talking about insecurities. And that was radical. SKEE-LO single-handedly made it okay to be awkward, self-aware, funny, and vulnerable. He represented the kids who love hip-hop, but didn't necessarily live that lifestyle. His music was on MTV, on radio, in commercials, at school dances and house parties. He made hip-hop feel accessible without feeling watered down. And that was huge. The song that defined his career, I Wish, a humorous, self-deprecating track about wishing to be taller, richer, smoother with the ladies, and yes, a baller. Lyrically, it was simple, but that was the genius of it. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. Everybody at some point wished that they were something that they weren't. So that line was universal. Production-wise, the beat was smooth, bouncy, radio-friendly, but definitely still hip-hop. No aggression, no pressure, just good vibes. And the numbers don't lie either. It peaked at number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100. It went gold. And like I said, it had heavy MTV and radio rotation in the summer of 1995. At a time when hip hop was dominated by gritty street music, I Wish went left. It was clean, it was funny, it was honest, and it worked. Everybody knew it, even people who ain't listen to rap. So of course, that moment led to SKEE-LO'S debut album, also titled I Wish. It went gold and earned him 2 Grammy nominations. No! One for Best Rap Album and one for Best Rap Solo Performance. But outside of the title track, joints like Top of the Stairs, Superman, and others didn't really hit the same. The album moved, but unfortunately, lightning didn't strike twice. Here's the uncomfortable truth. I Wish was too perfect. So much so that it became his identity, his ceiling, and it cast a huge shadow. Every follow-up got compared to that record. Every creative move was boxed in. You add in label pressure, expectations, in an industry that moves that fast, and suddenly momentum fades. Sadly, hip-hop doesn't wait. Once the machine stops pushing you, it rarely turns back around. Now here's where the story shifts. Shortly after his success, SKEE-LO ran into serious issues with his record label.
Surprise, surprise.
By his own account, there were money problems, contract disputes, and overall just feeling boxed in creatively. So instead of playing the game, he stepped away. Years of legal battles followed, and by the time he regained control of his catalog, the moment just kind of passed. And unfortunately, hip-hop is not always kind enough to wait. What doesn't get talked about enough is what SKEE-LO did after the fame. He didn't crash out, he didn't spiral publicly, he pivoted. He did acting roles, TV appearances, hosting gigs, writing behind the scenes. Then later he went fully independent. And that's more than surviving, that's thriving. A lot of artists from that era never get that chance. As far as music goes, SKEE-LO didn't disappear completely though. He dropped a project called I Can't Stop in 2001 and then Fresh Ideas in 2012. Fully independent on his own label, SKEE-LO Music. He stayed active, just quieter. SKEE-LO's story matters because it exposes a reality. Hip-hop loves moments, but it doesn't always protect artists. You could define a summer and still get left behind by the business. But choosing peace, choosing ownership, choosing life on your own terms, that's a win most artists never get. Today, SKEE-LO's in his 50s, living in LA, focused on family and creating on his own terms. In 2024, he released a new independent single and EP titled Slow Down. No major rollout, just music. SKEE-Lo might be labeled a one-hit wonder, but I Wish never really left us. It still gets played, still gets quoted, still feels like summer. And SKEE-Lo proved that you didn't have to be hard to be hip-hop. You just had to be honest. But that's the story of SKEE-Lo, the short king and the cultural staple who decided not to let the industry control his narrative and did things his own way. I got nothing but the utmost respect for him choosing himself, because sometimes you gotta stop wishing and start doing. But guys, you already know how we do. Are you familiar with SKEE-Lo? Let me know down in the comments below, and if there's another artist that you want me to track down next, drop that in the comments as well. And if you enjoyed this episode of Where Are They Now, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell icon so you guys get notified when I upload new content. And if you want to see more videos like this, feel free to click on one of these playlists right here. But thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate y'all. Peace.